Been talking a lot about cars lately, right? We had a segment which I think we're going to actually replay if you missed it because I got so many good text messages from people. Thank you for letting me know. I was in the market to consider getting an EV, but after hearing your guest, not so much. Not because there's anything wrong with them, but because there's a real way to, I guess, first of all, quantify and qualify whether it makes sense for you. Then we come across this story, which concerns a specific group in this country, and it's a little bit of a head scratcher. Usually we talk about millennials not being able to afford homes, down payments, interest rates are high, and then along comes a study, a Leger study done for the folks at Turo, Canada, that says basically for millennials anyway, more than half of Canadian millennials no longer believe owning a car is even affordable. So let's try to find out more. Bassem El-Rahimy is Director of Marketing at Turo Canada on the line. Bassem, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Look, I want to explain, first of all, people should know Turo Canada is a company that rents cars. Explain what you do exactly.
Yeah, you got it. So Turo is a leading peer-to-peer car sharing platform in Canada. So what we do is we connect local car owners like you and I with an incredible community of travelers looking for the perfect car for their next adventure.
So in other words, I decide I want to rent a car. Instead of going to one of the major car rental agencies, I go online, I find Turo, and you have ads for people in the community who actually are renting their own personal cars out for you instead, or to you instead, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So guests come to Turo to really find unparalleled selection. We have hundreds of makes and models that people can choose from, and they turn to us to really get the perfect car that they need. And then, of course, we have an easy app and a number of convenient features like getting the car delivered to you or adding a bike rack or a bike rack. So this is why people come to Turo to book a car. But as you mentioned earlier, you could put up your car and earn money by sharing it. And folks in Canada and Quebec earn about $725 a month of extra income by sharing their cars out.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Well, so we'll maybe come back to that. Let's get to the study, though, the Leger poll, which basically does not paint a very bright picture if you're a millennial and or even consider getting a car. What's it telling us?
Yeah, we surveyed Canadians to understand the state of car ownership and usage in Canada. And we've learned that young millennials are really heavily affected by the recent inflation and the increasing cost of car ownership. More than half, as you mentioned earlier, are less likely to buy or lease a vehicle. When we ask these folks why, the common theme that we most see is just owning a car is too expensive. And so, when we looked at the data, we've seen that young millennials on average spend about $6,000 a year on owning a vehicle. And that's actually higher than all age groups. The average for all age groups is about $5,000 a year. So it's a number that continues to increase for young millennials, and inflation definitely didn't make it any easier.
So I know you have Quebec-specific data in here as well, but is there a difference between what you found in this polling in Quebec versus the rest of Canada?
Yes. So when we looked at Quebec-specific data, it's actually a little bit less than half of folks that are less likely to buy or lease a vehicle into the coming year. So there's a little bit more appetite in Quebec than in other provinces to potentially purchase a vehicle. But some of the stats that we've seen about the same across the country, Quebec included, is that for the folks that have a car, about 1 in 10 folks are planning to stop owning or leasing their car in the future. So that was also kind of an interesting stat for us.
Yeah, I wonder too, that idea of in the future, we're being told that this generation, this millennial generation, when I was growing up, the idea was you got your license and the first day you drove, you wanted to, right? You took your dad's car and off you went, and then we wanted to have our own car. That seems to not be the case anymore. Did you find that in this research as well, that it's just not that big a deal for this generation as it was for the one before it?
Exactly. We're seeing this generation value access over ownership, and that's now expanding to cars. The common thread was how expensive it is to own a car, but when we looked at the usage of those cars, they sit idle 96% of the time. We barely use them. So folks are starting to figure out that instead of owning the car and not using it for, that much of the time, they're better off paying only when they need to use it. And that's really where the beauty of Turo's business model comes into play, is you can access the vehicle whenever you want, but you only pay for when you're using it.
Yeah, I want to go back to that figure because that's stunning. I don't think we ever think of that, right? So your research shows cars, you own a car, Quebec, this is in Quebec, 84% of Quebecers own or lease a car, but those cars sit idle 96% of the time. In other words, you get in your car, you drive to work in the morning. Let's say you're working 9 to 5. The entire time that you're at work, until you leave to go home, that car is basically sitting doing nothing. It's either in a parking lot or in a garage or whatever. Are you suggesting then that you can, let's say I'm in this situation, I can say to you, I want to put my car up on Turo and I'll rent it up between, 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock as long as it's back so I can drive it home. Can you do that?
You could. They wouldn't. The demand might be challenging. There may not be a lot of people that book the car for that time window. But as a host, you're able to set any kind of setting preference you would like to make sure that the car is only rented out when you want it to be rented out. But what we'll see folks do is now with some people working from home some days of the week, or some folks knowing that they might not work 2 or 3 days in a row, they'll book out their car for that period. But on the days that they do need it for daily use, they'll tend to keep it.
Yeah, it's also, as I'm thinking, down the road, if you went out of town for a couple of weeks and your car was sitting around, you could actually make some money. It's kind of like Airbnb, but for cars.
Exactly. Folks can really leverage an underutilized asset to make money out of it, leveraging a platform that kind of connects them with folks excited to book their car.
I'm wondering, too, government-wise, what's sort of involved in here? Can anybody do this? Do you have to register your car as a business? What do you do?
Of course. You do not have to register as a business. You can choose to if you would like to, but it's not mandatory. Really, the primary, most important thing is safety. And safety is at the core of our offering. So we've partnered with Economical Insurance to provide insurance with every tour reservation for both guests and hosts. And we also make sure to screen all guests and offer 24/7 roadside assistance. So the combination of these safety features really make sure that all participants are safe, are insured, and kind of gives peace of mind to the folks booking out, sharing out their cars.
I didn't want this to turn into an ad for Turo, but I didn't even know that. So when you talk about insurance, because that's a consideration, right? I'm worried I give you my car. What happens if you have an accident? But whoever's on that site, that insurance is included.
Exactly. So we cover up to $2 million in liability and up to the value of the car in damages. So everybody can feel comfortable and safe when they're transacting on the platform.
But what if I decide never to bring the car back? I rent the car from whoever put it on the site. I just drive away, never to be heard from again.
So we do a lot of screening to make sure that these situations don't happen. We really want to make sure that the guest community is a safe community and we take care of our hosts. But in the unlikely event that we were to miss it, that's where our insurance product comes into play. So you would be as whoever's car that you booked, we would make the host whole and treat it as a theft. But we work really hard to avoid all the situations. Just
final question. I'm wondering, though, so I know you obviously break down demographics. Who is your audience here? I mean, who's representing the bulk of people doing this or using the service?
So there's really a car for everybody on the platform because we really think of selection as our superpower. So whether you need an affordable vehicle for the weekend errand.
No. I get that. I just want to know, based on the statistics you have, who are those people renting or putting up? Are they 18 to 24-year-olds? Or are they 35 to 49-year-olds? Who's your customer?
Yeah, we have a strong penetration with the market with folks 23 to 40 years old, usually located in urban centers.
Okay. Listen, I thank you so much. Appreciate the time today. Thanks, Bassem.
Thank you for having me.
All right, take care.